And I think there are room for, I like to say, you know, Black girls with white girl problems on television. Everything doesn't have to be, I'm a slave, you know what I mean? Like I was raped by everyone, you know, like it's just, and of course those stories are important, and they make people feel seen, and they tell the truth of certain parts of our experience. But sometimes I don't want to tell it. Sometimes I want pure escapism.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should always have to have blonde hair attached to it. You know, and so I just think this show is really fun and entertaining, and I like that for us.
I love it. All right, so we're gonna go deep a little bit.
Let's get it.
All right, so I'm one of those people who love valley moments, right? And I think it's one of those things that as we're on our journey to be where we see ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like at this moment, a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
And we don't always share those moments because they're valley moments. And who wants to talk about when you are like, oh my gosh, like what is going on with my life?
Yeah.
And so the question is, I would like you to share, I call them moments in the valley, where you didn't know how you were going to make it out of a particular situation. So if you would be open to share what the situation was, how you got out of it, and then what was waiting for you on the other side. Told you it was deep.
I know, and I'm like already crying. There've been a lot of them, you know. I'm one of those people that's like a huge proponent of therapy, and like for real, like church and therapy.
Gotta do the work.
And yeah, all of that stuff, because there've just been so many moments where I thought, oh God, I'm not gonna make it. One was definitely when my Amazon pilot wasn't picked up, because they told me it was gonna be picked up, and then those people got fired. So it was one of those like up and back, you know, feelings. And I remember drinking, I'll say this, I remember drinking Vouv straight from the bottle that night, because I said, and my husband took a picture of me, because I said, there's some other future moment that's going to be so great that is only possible because this did not happen. So I'm going to cheers to that in that moment. But it was completely antithetical to how I was actually feeling. I was so deeply devastated. But I just remember, like, you got to celebrate something that's coming in that moment. I think the moment where I really, and I do not feel like crying, but where I really felt like, oh snap, was when my mother passed. And just the whole process of grieving her, of like, and there were so many moments in grieving her, because it was like, okay, I'm grieving her independence. Now I'm like, she's my baby, and I have to figure out everything now. And then it's like, oh, she can't walk. And so now we're grieving that. So it was a lot. So when she finally was like ejected from her physical body, I had this like primal, like, I haven't felt this way ever before or since, of just like, what's going to happen? Like, just like a motherless child, you know, like, but like I was 2 years old on the streets of New York, and nobody was going to take care of me. Like, that's, for a second, I felt so alone. And I think what helped me through it was just, again, therapy and all of that. To what we talked about in the beginning, which is like your tribe. Like, let people love you. That is like so hard for us sometimes. Like, don't put no makeup on, don't brush your hair, don't clean up your house. You must have those 1 or 2 or 3 people that want to love you. Let them. And so it was really about my relationship with my husband deepened, my real friends. I knew just who they were. It was like, that was the one blessing of that, especially for this moment to be coming so soon after. I had someone say, oh, I'll drive down for the premiere, you know, and I was like, you know who's on that list? The people who have really been with me through those challenging times. So I think I've been loved out of it, loved myself through it. And then also, I think the way that I got out of it was I immediately became pregnant. Like, I feel like my mama did that. She was like, I've been waiting on this grandchild. Now that I'm on the other side of the veil, y'all fuck and get it done.
I got some power.
Yeah, I don't know how she did it, but I was pregnant like a few months later. And he was born a year to the day that she passed. One day before she passed.
Wow.
But the other thing was, it really motivated me. Like I'm always like, what's the lesson? What's the lesson? And for me, it was like, she had her life here on earth. Mm. You have your life here on earth. You get one. Let's go. Yes. And I really did kind of focus my intention on my dreams coming true with a different kind of aggression, I think. I have just been a little bit more fearless to say the thing. Like when I sat down with BET, I was like, I want to get a show in the air. I want like it was just very intentional about, and realizing that just like, we don't have that much time all the time, and so, or we don't have I don't know. It's probably cliche, but it was just like, I really understood life is not this life. Like life, I do believe, goes on and on and on and on. But in this body, with this set of gifts, at this time, like gather your shit up and let's move.
Yeah, it's finite. It's not forever.
Yeah. And so in creating, that started to get me out of the valley.
I love it. What would you say since then? How long ago did your mom pass?
She passed at the end of 2019.
What would you say is the greatest lesson that you learned about yourself in the last 5 years?
Ooh, this is going to sound crazy. But the first thing that came to mind, I won't censor it, was like, you are such a bad bitch. Like, you really are. Like, from that moment to becoming to lose a mother and become a mother within 1 year without that guidance is wild, and just the level of depth of compassion that I've never cared that much about somebody else and taken that much abuse from somebody else. But just like my depth of compassion, like my mother energy, like I really deeply care about people. And that comes from just a gratitude. Like when someone says they're a nurse now, because I've seen what nurses do, right. I'm like, oh my God, you're an angel. Let me just give you a hug. Like I just feel that. And I also feel like you manifested the thing that you really wanted. And I just feel like the process of the show, it was very, very rewarding, but it was also way harder than I thought it would be. And there were a lot more challenges than I thought I would have. And they were different challenges than I thought I would have. Many of them surprised me. And the fact that I came out on the other side of that with a show that I'm really proud of, to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a bad bitch. Like take no matter what happens after this, take it in and take a bow, boo. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a blessing. All right. So how can people tune in to this new show, follow you, stay connected with you on your journey that I'm going to claim for you is just beginning?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sis. Did we tell the people you're from Detroit too?
A little bit.
But yeah, you can find me. My name is Diarra Kilpatrick. I'll say that again. The show premieres Diarra from Detroit, March 21st on BET Plus. Bet Plus. People, we went to SCAD and the kids there were like, oh my God, we're gonna get Bet Plus. I was like, I'm screaming. But BET Plus.